welcome back to the Taiken Ramen channel. Today we're having some fun with a summer flavor that I've been obsessed with lately. Yes, it's chorizo. I'll show you the process to make a smoky toasted tonkotsu, the chili pepper tare, and of course, in blood in, blood out fashion, we will be careful with the chorizo.
Pero cuidado con el chorizo. You might need it for later.
We've made lots of tonkotsu before on this channel, but I was recently given a glass pot for cooking for my birthday, so now we can see the whole process up close and personal. I'm covering 3 pounds of pork neck bones in water, then letting that sit in the fridge overnight. Then draining the blood-water mixture, and then laying everything out on a rimmed baking sheet. To get things toasty, I'm throwing these bones in a 350° Fahrenheit oven for 30 minutes. After that, they have some beautiful char to them. I'm going to reserve the liquids that cooked out of the bones on the baking sheet. I'm still going to blanch these bones for 5 minutes in new water to get any last funk out, and as you can see, they were still nice and toasted but very clean. Now back into a fresh pot of water, and we're going to need just enough water to cover all of our bones and additives. The additives are going to be 300 grams of pork skin and all of the liquids that we rendered out of those bones when we baked them earlier. I cover everything and bring to a rolling boil, and then wait for this glorious pork, water, and fat to make like Goku and Vegeta infuse. This soup went for 12 hours, and at the conclusion, it had a luscious consistency with a light, smoky aroma, and it looked even better in slow-mo. I strained out the bones and pork skin through a sieve and paper towel, and as you can see in this side-by-side, we lost about 20% of our starting water, but that's just going to make this soup nice and thick. Perfect fatty goodness. Broth complete. For the tare, we will need tamari shoyu, shiro shoyu, rice wine vinegar, 1 ancho, guajillo, and pasilla pepper, and some smoked sea salt. All of those items can be found on Amazon. I added 1/2 cup each of the tamari shoyu and shiro shoyu, as well as the rice wine vinegar. As I brought that up to a boil, I cut the stems off of the peppers, and then added them into the simmering tare and cooked just until they started to soften. Then I moved everything into a high-powered blender and evened things out until completely smooth. Next, I put everything back on the heat, and to get some of the residual tare out of the blender, I put 1 cup of water in the blender, stirred that around, and added it back to the pan. Then I added the smoked sea salt in 1 teaspoon increments at a time until the tare was nice and pungent. 2 wasn't quite enough. 3 was closer. And 4 teaspoons was perfect.
That's enough.
Tare complete. The noodles for this bowl are 29% low hydration noodles, which are designed to soak up all that fatty, spicy seasoning from the chorizo. The process for making low hydration noodles is really involved, and I made a whole video explaining just how it's done. Check out my 7 tips for making low hydration noodles with a KitchenAid for the tech specs on these nudes. And if you would like to sub out different noodles, I also made a video called Variations on a Ramen Noodle that will steer you in the right direction. The chorizo was such a satisfying end to this process. You can grab a couple pounds of it at the grocery store and cook it up in about 5 minutes. The chorizo is also going to be providing the aroma oil for this soup, so it's really doing double duty. Talk about some bang for your buck. When assembling, I used 50 milliliters of tare, 500 milliliters of broth, 150 grams of noodles, and then top the bowl with a heaping ladle of chorizo. I added some broiled red onions, ajitama, naruto-maki, lime, and cilantro. This bowl was absolutely packed with flavor. If I had to criticize anything, I would say probably that the flavors could actually be turned down 5 to 10% by just putting less chorizo in the bowl. The chorizo brought way more flavor to the party than I had anticipated, but hey, the more the merrier. I can see chorizo also working really well as a topping in a tauntaun bowl, or really any sort of Latin fusion that you want to do with your ramen. And as usual, all of the backup dancers were on point. Thanks so much for joining me on this adventuresome bowl. Is chorizo tonkotsu in your future? Let me know in the comments below. It was a blast cooking with you today. I look forward to seeing you again. Please consider subscribing for more.